Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Talk NFT, where we talk all things Web3. I'm very excited today to have Anjali Young here, co-founder of Abridge, also the maker of Collab.Land. They are the original token gating platform with over, I would like to say, is it past 50,000 now, Web3 communities?
Yep, we're just over 50,000.
Wow. Congrats on that and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to you and your community about Collab.Land.
Yes, we're excited to have you here. And not only because, we had the same stomping grounds, Berkeley. I know you went to UC Berkeley as your alumni there. But before, we dive into Collab.Land and what you guys do, because tell us a little bit about your background, how you even got into Web3.
Yeah, that's a good question. I started my, I don't know if you can call it a career, but it was very disjointed. But my first job out of college was from Berkeley. I graduated in 1996, and my first job was at a company called Inktomi, Inktomi. And we were the original search engine. So we were doing search before Alta Vista, before Ask Jeeves. Way before Google, really kind of right before Yahoo started doing this, like Web 1.0. So that's where I started doing that. Who was my boyfriend at the time, James, who is my co-founder and my husband now for Abridged and for Collab.Land, was software engineer, and he was working with a professor who started the company. And so they were like, hey, and I was waiting for him to graduate because I was going to go to law school. And so then he was like, hey, can my girlfriend get a job? I'm making her wait for me, one more year before I graduate. And I said, all right, I'll wait. Let's do this. And so it was really, really fun. It was my first experience at a tech company. And I will tell you, a lot of the same type of personalities that I encountered back then, a lot of the same energy, a lot of the same excitement, a lot of the same experimentation that we went through during that Web 1.0, 1996, 1997 time. I sense it here today. And so it's a lot of fun in that doing Collab.Land, being in Web3 has been extremely nostalgic in that way. So I started with that, went to law school, practiced law for a few years, mostly in violence against women work, political refugee work. Wow. And then we decided to raise our family, grow our family through adoption. And so we adopted our first child in 2006. And then again in 2009, and then I homeschooled them. So I was homeschooling my children, and really kind of the only constant thread, I would say, all these years has been I've been a part of online communities. Starting in like 1993, I was dialing up into BBSs and playing multi-user games. Yes. Wow. So even before the internet, even before there was a world, like World Wide Web or any of that, it was just dialing up into BBSs and meeting people online, and then building community online, and then going to IRL meetups. We didn't call them IRL there, but meetups. And so even the whole time I was homeschooling my adoptions, they're transracial adoptions. And so I was a moderator for a Facebook group of 60,000 for transracial adoption. So I've always been involved with like adoption and homeschooling and attachment parenting and a lot of other situations around that. And so, I'd say online communities have been a big part of it. And then when we started Abridged in 2018, I wasn't very much involved. I was definitely just involved as a sounding board and an advisor. It definitely was not a situation where I was like hands-on every day involved. But as you know, you have a spouse as well. Once your spouse has a business, then you're all in the business. And so I was in the business that way. And then in 2021, January is when it became more like increasingly apparent that Collab.Land, which initially was starting off as a DAO tooling, was going to become like more of a greater community tool. And then it's like, wait, if this is becoming an online community tool, then I am well suited to take a more active, more of an active role here. And so that's when I started having more of a daily presence and kind of guiding what goes on with Collab.Land. And we can talk about a little bit more of that, I guess, as we go So, but yeah, that's kind of where I've been. And then in September of 2021, I started doing more of the speaking and being kind of like the public face. And pretty much that's been my role since then, like the comms support, and then also like doing all the traveling and the podcasts and Twitter spaces.
Wow. You have quite literally seen it all from Web 1 evolution to Web 2, Web 3. And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, specifically in community, building. Yeah. So that's amazing. Yeah. That's
definitely always been where my interest is. Like I like being with people. I like being around people. Being able to be in this place with Collab.Land is rare air. It's like there is different types of online communities that have existed since the beginning, right? Since, like I said, before the web even was called the web. So being able to be here at this time at like the ground floor of a new type of community, it's still very new. A new type of community forming is incredibly special.
It is incredibly special because I don't want to date myself, but I was dialing up on internet also. I was on Facebook groups, but I've never felt as strong as a connection as I have now with Web3. I've rekindled relationships with old friends I haven't seen in 20 years because we were in the same, community on Web3, collecting the same NFT and meeting new friends and doing in real life events that is probably a lot different than back in the days of dial-up internet days, because these events were a lot more epic. We're meeting on yachts. You were meeting, these extravagant places and enjoying, each other's companies in a different way. Yeah.
Yes, we were not having epic parties back in 1993. It was, for me, at least I grew up in Los Angeles, it was meeting at the Shakey's in Venice. So Shakey's doesn't even exist anymore. So it's like, meeting at a local pizza party or pizza location with people you had no idea what they looked like. Now we have like all these opportunities to have an identity, whether we're anon or not anon, we still have that chance to show some part of ourselves. Back then it was like just a username and we were doing macros. And so you set macros up on your computer so you can make like a smiley face with pluses and lines. And so there really wasn't, you didn't know until you got to the event, like who's my cohort here. And I was a young Indian girl from Los Angeles. So it was definitely a mixed bag of who I got to meet. I mean, grateful for it. But now with the richness, because we have the internet now 30 years or 30 plus years, and we're able to express ourselves in so many ways, people really get to a sense of who each other are even before you meet. I mean, I'm sure you felt that too. Like you have made friendships and like there's a depth to it. And so almost when you meet, it's like a new layer of something that's already formed.
Yeah, and I think Collab.Land definitely had a big part in it because a lot of these communities are open. You don't necessarily have to have an NFT to enjoy the community, but if you do have it, you can actually access what we call, or the industry calls it, token gated, more private, more intimate experience with even a more another layer of community that's more invested, we would like to say, or maybe have the better words for it. And maybe that's a good segue for what Collab.Land is and does, because a lot of people don't even know what token gated is. That wasn't even a term back then.
Yeah, and it's really a thrill to hear you talk about it that way. The work is like daily work. It's service work, what we call it. And so being able to hear from you about like the impact that it's had is really special. So thank you. So Collab.Land started as a DAO tool. We started as this was the beginning of lockdown, May of 2020. And we had this no-code tooling. Abridged had created this no-code tooling, which was a pivot from our social recovery contract wallet that we were working on for 2.5 years. We were not getting any traction with that. And so we pivoted to, instead of trying to get the user, right, getting the user to Web3, or at that point, just calling it crypto, the user to crypto, why don't we try to invite developers? And so it's like trying to say, okay, if we build the city, then the residents move in. Trying to create this contract wallet with social recovery when there's really nothing for them to do is less compelling, and it's not working. It was less compelling for users, we didn't get users. It was less compelling for investors. We didn't get any investors. And so having traction, especially that was another bull or bear market time. So, there just wasn't that much interest in something like that. So in January of 2020, we pivoted to no-code tooling, trying to attract developers. And with no-code tooling, we were creating lots of different experiments. We created one called Voting is the New Like, trying to get people to vote. Like if they were liking on Facebook, it should be just as easy to vote for something online. So, that was one of them. We tried different chat platforms, chat bots, different things going on. And then Collab.Land we created for our own use case. And so COVID was happening. We had shut down as well, just like everybody else. And it was, how do we get people together who are members of the Collab.19 DAO? We created our own little mini DAO, which was a grant giving DAO based on Moloch, the Moloch DAO framework. Actually, James, my husband and co-founder, is one of the writers of the white paper for Moloch DAO. And so he's kind of a DAO maxi. And it was like, how do we get people who are part of our DAO into a group together? We can talk about voting then. We can talk about how we want to distribute the grants then. This is more of a personal, like people are having personal stories of why they may need money during this time. It was actually a very scary time in the spring of 2020. And so we're like, let's build this with our no-code tooling. Let's build this little toy that when somebody joins a community, this was Telegram initially, when they join a community, we check their wallet to see if they have the asset to qualify to enter the community. So with Telegram, it's token granted access or token gated access. So that was the initial idea of a token gate. We did not even call it token gating at that point. It was just, let's get everybody in our DAO together. Previous to that, people were meeting every single month at different conferences. Crypto was very mobile. And I know we spoke a little bit about that earlier, but it's very much a global movement. And that's, I think, important for everyone to understand. It is a global movement. It's not solely American or from the Western world. People all over the world are participating for the first time ever, and it's truly a beautiful thing. But we were traveling all around the world, different month, meeting the same people. And that's where you got to talk, right? Face to face. Like, I know Joe is into it. I'm into it. We know each other. This is where we talk. But now what do we do when we can't travel anymore, but we still are excited about this technology? We still are excited about this way to work together on an initiative together and make something great. And so that's where Collab.Land initially came from, was this DAO tooling. And then shortly after DAOs started using us, then investment groups started using us. For those of us that, those of you that want a little bit of a history lesson, there was an ICO boom in 2017, early 2018. And a lot of people had a lot of tokens. Now it's like, what do we do with these tokens? Well, and groups started forming around these tokens. So whale communities, people that were had these tokens from before. And actually, I was on a call with someone earlier today who was interested in this exact same use case for a token from 2017. 6 years later, wow. Can you believe it? So anyway, tokens started being used to get whales together and talking about deal flow. That was a lot of preparation for the next bull market. And then we saw social tokens. I don't know if you remember that, but like Alex Masmej, he was an individual creator, and he said, I'm going to sell a token named with my own name. And then let's see if people believe in me, then I can try to accomplish more and more and more. He was able to move from France to San Francisco. He was able to create his own startup. Wow. And so for us, we're like, oh, this might be the thing. Like, this seems understandable. A creator token, a social token. It was an ERC20 token, not even NFTs. Forget about NFTs at this point. Too early for NFTs. And we thought this could be something that could onboard more people, because creators can come on, someone like you, and have a Joe token, and you can fund a show for yourself. You can fund a documentary. You can fund whatever you want. And they could believe in you. And then at some point you could provide rewards back to them, or maybe the price of the token would go up if your value goes up. So, that seemed like a really compelling use case at the time, which is like athletes and actors and really musicians, bands, universities, like anyone that has a fandom would be able to do something like that. And we thought, okay, this is going to be it. This is definitely going to be it. Shows how little, in terms of like hindsight, you can see that. But we did not see NFTs coming in the way that NFTs came. I don't know how many people did, but we definitely didn't. We were thinking social tokens was going to be it. So social tokens started, and then we were working with one community called Meme, who started then delving into NFTs. And this is like October of 2020, which is like they put out these pineapple points, and then with the pineapple points, you could buy these NFTs. And that's when NFTs kind of started getting on our radar. And then shortly after that, in the early spring of 2021 is when NFTs really started to kind of become what we saw them be through 2021 and 2022, which is like community projects, PFP projects, 10K projects. Each you have your own token, and that you identify it as you, and it's very different from anybody else's because it has a different attribute or a different trait, and it's special to you, and you have that one-on-one relationship. And that really was a very special thing. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But NFT use case is kind of now where most of our users are in the NFT use case. And they still keep coming. However, there's a lot of blending now with gaming. So it's like you have gaming and NFTs. It's like, how do you really differentiate? Yes, there's gaming elements, but now we have NFT communities that are also adding gaming elements. So that's kind of merged a little. We still have investment groups, DeFi communities. There are so many DeFi communities using Collab.Land. So it's like things that are a little bit unexpected. And then, of course, we still have DAOs, which was our foundation.
Wow, it's being applied in a lot of places that I didn't even think of in DeFi and whatnot, because that's not my areas of expertise. Is there any new technology coming? I know that primarily software, but I've heard echoings of even a hard wallet that could fit on the size of your finger. It could be a ring. It could read, with different sensors and mechanisms. Are you guys working on something like that? I'm just very curious.
No, we are not working on anything with hardware. However, we are building a identity network around Collab.Land. So with Collab.Land, especially during the bear market, like what can you do to provide help, support, resources for the people who are still here? And part of what we're doing is helping them build out a reputation for themselves, which is, we are strong believers that the bull market's going to come back. We are strong believers that you're not going to be able to stop people from working together. Like what I've seen over my last 30 years of being online, and before that I wasn't an adult. So my whole life was my family and my friends at school. But since I've been an adult, my entire adult life has been involved with online communities. And one thing I will tell you is that even when people wrote off the internet, there was a time, and if you're old enough, it was the .bomb. Like the internet, people were like, the internet isn't going to be a thing. Like it's all scammers, it's all ads, it's all porn, it's all gambling. Like this is not going to ever hit the mainstream. No one's ever going to put their credit card online and then have something show up at their house because it won't fit. They won't like the color. They won't like the smell of it. No one's going to do this. That was the thinking back then. And it's just really interesting because that's kind of what's happening right now, in that there is a bear market sentiment. Obviously, we're in the middle of a bear market. And so the people that are here see that, have that vision to know, like, you can't stop people from being together. You can't stop coordination. When you have an opportunity to ease coordination, to work together in a smoother, quicker way, then we as humans are not going to let that go. Right. And that's really the true beauty and unlock of the blockchain and cryptocurrency and Web3, whatever you want to call it, is that it allows people to work together, now having a financial component, which was missing from the original internet. Now we have all the same money. We speak the same language in a way for the very first time. James often talks about it like tokens are as important of innovation as time itself. But I would say like time itself allows us to coordinate globally. And so maybe at some point someone said, why should we base it on British Standard Time or whatever, like, why should someone else get to decide what time it is here? But the naysayers fall away, because once you have global human coordination, you can't stop us, right? Yeah. Once we can do that.
Cool. So Collab.Land is well known. I use Collab.Land. It was one of my first token gate experience, was connecting with Collab.Land. And I think a lot of people's as well. And through it, I got to experience, very unique communities and real life events, whatnot. You must have a lot of insight, over 50,000 communities, and by proxy, maybe millions of people, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. What's been the biggest learning lessons? I know it's a loaded question because it's been 3 years. There's probably been so much, but what's been like,
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it, but the interesting thing part is, like, token gating didn't exist before Collab.Land, and the concept of token gating didn't exist. And even for us, like, it still gets us giddy that token gating is a thing, and that it's taken off, and that now it's a primitive for communities. And so it's like before this, it didn't exist. And, it's really fun to have created an idea that takes a foothold, especially when that idea allows more people to come together and build new types of relationships. Okay, so it's been 3 years. Now token gating, you expect it, right? Like, anywhere you go, you expect it. And Collab.Land has actually sparked a cottage industry of token gating. I mean, the original idea was to get as many people into this space as possible, and bringing developers into the space, bringing users into the space. And now we've had over 2.6 million individual people, over 8.9 million wallets connected with Collab.Land, over 50,000 communities, like I said, and sparked an entire cottage industry of people who are working in token gating. It's just, it's almost too much to put into words, but the excitement that we see, and the fun, and the education, and the way these relationships are formed, like, you can't put that back into a bottle. So I guess if that's one thing that I would want to share with everyone who's listening, and with you as well, which is, like, we've seen too much. It's like the advent of time. It's like the advent of travel. Now we know how to get from place to place with ease, and you can't stop that. Even our team, Collab.Land core team, is fully decentralized. The only people who are together in the same place are my husband and myself. But otherwise, everybody is all over the world, and cryptocurrency has allowed there to be an easy way to pay and transact back and forth. Like, this is just something that we haven't seen before, around money itself specifically. To be able to have this shared interest in the exact same asset, really financial or not. We talk about financial because that's really how coordination is happening right now. But on the identity layer too, that's really going to be the next big thing, is the identity layer, where we're going to be able to all look at the same blockchain and know that, same public database, and be able to identify who's who. Like, all know who you are regardless of what country you're from. There isn't going to be that gatekeeping at the country level, the way we see with money, the same way we're going to see it with identity. It's going to be a huge unlock. And it makes you wonder, if I'm just like dreaming a little bit, like, will there be any kind of like global elections? Like, are we all on a human level going to be determine our fate? It's possible now with blockchain. Like, if you're not bullish on the current use cases, I accept you. I accept that. I understand, because I remember the web before even it had its feet. But you got to be bullish on humans wanting to come together and be together and work together.
No, absolutely. I think on your point, voting globally, and I must say this out loud, be transparent as possible. I voted more on DAO mechanisms and platforms than I have with the actual voting in real life with the governments. And I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but I never felt as part of something as much as I have then with, DAO voting within NFT projects. And I found myself voting on all these things that I normally would not participate in, maybe because it sparks an interest in me more so than other things. But, what has been some of the most interesting things that you've seen come across your DAO or proposals to Collab.Land? Because I'm sure you've seen quite a bit.
Yeah, with Collab.Land, what we're really focusing on now is, we got to this point, even though I do want to hit that point you said about voting and how your DAO voting record has beat your government voting record. That could be its own podcast, Joe.
Yeah.
I just want to dig into that. But no, right now with Collab.Land, we're focusing on a few different things. The DAO's purpose right now is to curate the marketplace. And so Collab.Land actually, even though we started off as token gated tooling and we still are token gating tooling, that's how most people use Collab.Land. You actually don't need a token in order to use Collab.Land anymore. You can use Collab.Land, and we have an entire marketplace, which we call the mini app marketplace. And there's all different types of ways to support communities in those mini apps. We actually are providing a service, a distribution platform for engineers, for developers. And so we're going back to that same foundation of wanting to get more developers into this space. Now it's not so general, which is be any kind of developer and we'll help you. It's be a developer for crypto communities, be a developer for Web3 communities. If that's something that you want to do, and if you want to serve communities within Web3, then we want to help you. And so through the DAO, it's voting for mini apps that are coming out. So the last two mini apps that were voted in, one was a safety and security one where you can download. So when you download Collab.Land, then you have a one-click install to any of these mini apps. And it was a safety and security app or mini app that you can one-click install, and then you can report if there's somebody behaving poorly in your group, about any link that maybe you hit that was a scam. You can report imposters and scams through that, through this little mini app. So you wouldn't necessarily need a token. This could all be pre-token activities. And then the next one was called was like a Web3 CRM. Web3 CRM. But we talked to people, lots of them are in the pipeline. We have an analytics one that's coming up for communities. There's a wallet actually that's going to be joining. There's lots of different mini apps that are going to be coming to Collab.Land. So that's kind of the purpose we had a DAO at all, which was how do you preserve the safety of the marketplace to make sure that it's quality mini apps that are in the marketplace, and also make sure that the mini apps that are getting into the marketplace are ones that the community wants. And that's kind of been the Collab.Land ethos from day one, which is community-led development. All of the advancements that we made with Collab.Land, all the changes we made with Collab.Land, all of those were made in relationship with community, not in a formal way through a DAO, but through relationships. And so I have a lot of relationships with admins. I mean, I was running the support team for a year and a half. And so that's where my initial, that's where I got all of my base knowledge, which was doing support for Collab.Land. There's no faster way to learn about the industry. We have people that are balanced. We have crypto natives that have been using Collab.Land and been in the space even longer than we have. But we also have brand new people, or overwhelmingly the questions that come into Collab.Land are from people that are brand new to crypto. And that is what our team mostly serves, people who are brand new to crypto. And that's, I think, one thing maybe people will be surprised to know. But we still get a huge influx of daily people. I think the last I saw it was 4,000 wallets a day. New wallets are coming in every day in a bear market. So, in the same way where I say, don't count out the world's computer, don't count out community. Community has kind of become a buzzword. It's kind of become meaningless in some places. But I will tell you, people coming together around a shared asset is not something that's going to be going away anytime soon.
Wow, that's great to hear. 4,000 a day. I'm not surprised by any means. I mean, amongst the negative news that we heard about the SEC on Bitcoin, that was the same day Louis Vuitton announced their $39,000 LVN NFT. And just last week, .swoosh Nike launched in collaboration with Fortnite to over 240 million gamers about Web3. So I'm not afraid about the market. But definitely a concern, because of my previous experience in Silicon Valley was about safety and security. I worked in a domain name space. So all my day to day was just protecting, access to these domain names, or else the infrastructure will go down. And I think a lot of people in Web3 coming in new to the space, not knowing about this token gated service and how to protect themselves in that, there's a lot of vulnerability there, I believe. Where is it at today? Because I really I haven't dived in myself. Because for those that don't know who's listening, when you go to a token gated experience, sometimes, maybe not so much anymore, you have to link your actual wallet to, a service to authenticate that you're the owner of the NFT or the verified digital asset to access, a sublayer. Yeah. So tell us where we're at today.
I guess the first thing is you're not linking. So when you are, when it says connect your wallet, all you're doing is signing a message, authenticating that you have dominion, you personally, the person who's signing, has dominion over a particular wallet address. And so all you're sharing with Collab.Land, I can only speak for Collab.Land, I don't know about other services, but with Collab.Land, when you're signing a message, you're saying this wallet address, 0x15111, belongs to me. And so Collab.Land reads the public blockchain. I mean, that's really the huge unlock here, right? No one has secret access to that wallet address. It's on the public blockchain. When Joe says this wallet address belongs to me, then Collab.Land can say, okay, we're going to read the public blockchain at that public wallet address to see what assets are connected to that public wallet address. The word wallet itself is difficult because when you think wallet, you think you're connecting your wallet, you're opening your wallet. There are things in your wallet when really it's not that way. It's that you have a public wallet address and there are assets that are connected to that public wallet address. And when you sell or transfer, that connection is broken. And so it's really we're reading a database. It's not looking in your wallet, but I feel like that type of language trips people up. Now, the ways people get that are scary for people, of course, are signing anything. When you're signing anything, you need to know what you're signing. With Collab.Land, it's a human readable message. You see exactly what you're signing in English, right? Like hopefully you have a translator, but in English, you'll be able to read what it says and what it's asking for. What I would say to anyone listening, which is don't sign anything that you cannot read. Demand human readable messages. If you are not in a situation where, you cannot read what's happening, then you cannot know what's happening. And so do not put yourself in that position. And I will tell you, I did it during the bull market. I signed things that I probably shouldn't have signed. And now during a bear market, again, it's like, this is a time to learn. This is time to educate. This is time to slow down. Like we can shut that fire hose down and we can have it be a trickle, but that's okay because it gives you lots of time to meet the other drops in the bucket. And it gives you an opportunity to have that time on the way down, right on your journey. And so don't sign anything you have not absolutely understood what it means. Also, everything can look real in crypto. Fake mint sites, fake bots, fake websites, fake people. We really have our biggest scam kind of situation happens with social engineering and also with imposters. And so for those of you that are coming into the space, don't be the first to dive into anything. Make a community, find people. Like this is a great way actually, like buying an NFT and joining a community. Like prices are so low right now that it's really accessible for a lot more people than ever before. I know you said you were a part of Nine Lives Lounge. Like that wouldn't be, but there are probably other NBA Top Shots that you could purchase that would be accessible for people, right? And so that's true across most communities right now. And learn, go on Twitter, follow some communities, kind of get the vibe of what people are about, buy the NFT or find another way to get the NFT and join a community, like meet people in the space. That's going to be the number one way for people to remain safe is that you're going to share information. You're going to be able to ask around. You're not going to be the first person to do anything. I think being solo in Web3 is a huge detriment. And I would argue, like, again, I'm a community believer, but make some contacts, make some friends, follow people on Twitter that you trust. Like, this is even another opportunity. Like, if someone is following me and then they see who I'm following, they see who I'm interacting with, and they can DM one of those people and like see, like, are they legit or not? Like, you can do the research. It's early enough that you can do the research and you can get in there and you can meet people and you can can build up a little bit of a relationship with other people that you're not going to get into these situations. So I'm not saying you 100% won't, but you have a better chance if you meet people. My parents were immigrants to the United States, and this is kind of where I first realized how important community is. And they moved to a community with primarily immigrants, Asian immigrants. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in a community of Asian immigrants' kids. And it was a wonderful, beautiful experience because my parents did not feel so alone. They were able to learn a new country together with others. And in the same way, and ask questions and not get scammed and, have opportunities. And in the same way, I would say community, it fits that same role in Web3, which is you join a community, you get to know each other, you get to ask each other questions, you learn from each other, you share with each other, and you're going to be able to kind of thrive together and get out of, maybe avoid some bad situations together.
Yeah, absolutely agree here because we're so fast moving. Every week is a different iteration of Web3, right? And there's new services that are actually helping to protect people's assets. There's, believe it or not, NFT insurance coming out for wallets. I know TrustCheck was another guest I had on that audits it and puts it into layman's term what you're signing off on, and that alone would have helped so many people. And these are all things, to your point, you would not know unless you're connected to the community. And everyone has, I would say, in a good community, each other's safeties as first of mind. So definitely, I think your advice is spot on because we're so fast moving. Things change so quickly that, to adapt to what we're dealing with today before, it becomes to the masses is definitely important to be kind of connected.
Yes. And I will say, even with these services, and I use them too, and they're fantastic. And I'm so glad that they exist. Even knowing what to install, just this week or last week, there was a fake wallet on Apple Store.
Wow.
I can't remember which one it was, but, and gosh, if my husband was around, I could ask him, but but there was a fake wallet. And so it's using a real name. It was an imposter wallet. And so it's even with all these services that are coming out, and thank goodness they're here, at some point they're going to start having imposters too. And so it always is going to come back to you got to know where to verify, who to verify with. And you can't always just type in a name, especially on Google, or on Twitter. You can't just type in the name of a company and assume that the results that are coming down are going to be the authentic results. So you have to really verify. And I think having that community experience where people can, not just one person, for multiple people. One person may say, oh yeah, that's legit. And then maybe another person will say, wait a minute, that's not legit for this reason. You're still going to need that group consensus on what's happening and what's real and what's not real. And now with AI coming, I don't know, it's going to get even harder and harder to tell fake from real.
Yeah, that deserves its own podcast. Of course, AI integration with Web3. Which helps us kind of wrap up what we're talking about today, because AI is definitely what's coming next. And tell us what's coming next in Collab.Land. What's success look like closing up 2023?
We have a lot of big things planned. We have our APIs that are going to be able to come out. APIs as a product, if you want to have your own token gated website, you'll be able to leverage Collab.Land login. And so that way, if your community is already on Collab.Land and you want to bring them into a movie premiere, or if you want to bring them into a game, these are online experiences, online game, then you can utilize Collab.Land login in order to do that. So that's going to be great. We also have a pro version of our bot coming out. Over the years, we will always have a free service that will remain free. But people have always asked for more and more features, which are just not sustainable as a free community project. We had a token, but we didn't sell any of it. There was no pre-sale. It was purely a token for coordination. So Collab.Land has really kind of depended on community support and blockchain and wallet integration support. And so now we're going to have a pro version of our bot for all the people that want additional services. We get a lot of requests, and there are a lot of people that want more, but it's just not affordable for us from the infrastructure side. And so being able to provide those services and having the communities also support us and pay for that is fantastic. That's coming. And then, like I mentioned, we have a whole identity layer also going to be coming out, because for us, providing service is really the most important thing. And we believe that identity is going to be a huge part of what comes next for people. Again, we mostly support NFT communities, and that's where my heart is, Joe. I am an NFT person through and through. It is absolutely my first love, and absolutely why I completely fell head over heels for the space. It's because of NFTs. The communities that I've been a part of, the artists that I've met. I mean, that alone makes me cry thinking about it. And also just the people who are community minded, like that really care about community and really care about having accessibility and being available for people. It's not for everybody, and it's really, really hard work. And so it's been really wonderful to meet others that are in the trenches. So we're going to be providing an identity for them. And then we also want to provide help for NFT communities. And so one of the questions that we're trying to tackle with Collab.Land is, how do we get royalties back? We saw so much change and so much value and wealth brought into the hands of people that had been traditionally cut out of wealth building all over the world. We saw so much opportunity and growth and beauty, and it's just an opportunity to share voices that happen with royalties, and how royalties were such an important part of why people were in the space and how we were able to attract artists and creators. And so for us, we're really thinking about that and how to do that. And it's we already have royalty gated access, so admins can already base their access based on if a community member has paid royalties or not. We already do that from the Collab.Land side, which is like at least allow our community admins to know who paid and who didn't pay a royalty. But we also want to try to solve this problem. Like, how do we solve it for everybody? How do we bring royalties back? So that's kind of, passion project for all of us. Like I said, we're doing the API as a product, of course, and the ProBot, and we have our identity coming. But this passion project for us is solving NFT royalties. So I think everyone should be working on it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with NFT royalties for sure, 100%, only because I was a creator. Well, I still am a creator, and a lot of creators out there can definitely benefit from royalties, and even running any business. Everyone should expect that, it's not free to run a business. Like you mentioned, Collab.Land is free, but, not many free businesses. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
so definitely. Yeah.
And so, we're excited about that and really, truly grateful. Like, it wouldn't be if it wasn't for this idea taking hold and for people taking a chance on it. In early days, I was literally DMing everybody from the Collab.Land Twitter account, DMing every new NFT project I saw and asking them, do you think you'd be interested in something like this? Bringing all the people who just bought your NFT into a community together and getting to be with them and talk to them. And that was, at the beginning, it wasn't so easy to do that. And then it got easier and easier. And now, after a few weeks, it was like 4 to 6 weeks, everyone was using Collab.Land. And so that was really a great moment. And this remains a great moment, being able to help as many people as possible find a voice and find a life here in crypto at this global level. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like a kid again in so many ways in this space. Like, do you feel that?
I absolutely felt that, or I do feel that still. Like I mentioned before we actually started recording, I'm going next week to a gated event, NFT with the NBA. I'm bringing my wife and some friends to a gated Napa Valley exclusive winery because of NFTs and because I have that access. So I'm super excited daily. I'm feeling it daily. And I would like to thank you for being one of my first experiences into these communities and meeting these people. So I look forward to everything that you guys are working on with the collab, with the DAO. I know you had a docuseries. Maybe you're going to do another one in the future.
That's right. We do have a docuseries for anyone who's interested. It's letsformgroup.xyz. Letsformgroup.xyz. But I want to say thank you to you. Like, it's really special to be a part of people's lives in any capacity. And in this way, through really unlocking Web3, unlocking blockchain, like, we get so many new people that are coming through the doors at Collab.Land, and it's like we're their first experience, and it's just been really, really a wonderful, beautiful thing. And I just hope people, start to show, get a little bit interested, because I do believe this is going to be the way. There are a lot of smart, interesting people in this space, really, really, really great people who are trying to solve some of the world's biggest problems together. So join us. And, a little bit about what you said about voting. It's like, what if you only had to vote on stuff you cared about? I mean, what would the world look like if we all voted on the stuff we cared about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we would love to have you back on, Anjali. In the future, there's going to be so much progress that I'm sure that you're going to make. I'll put all the links on how to find Collab.Land, Twitter, Discord, Telegram, all down below.
Thank you so much, Joe. It was wonderful meeting you. I hope we keep in touch, and best wishes to your family with your new baby coming. So best wishes to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.